Violence erupts in Argentina during President Bush's trip to the Summit of the Americas. Tonight, fires in the streets. It's 7 o'clock on the East Coast, 4 p.m. in the West. It's time for the Fox Report. A double murderer loses his cuffs, ditches his jumpsuit, walks out of a maximum security facility. Tonight, the search and how it happened. America's challenge fears the sludge left behind by Katrina is causing respiratory illness in returnees, but the authorities say no. Riots in suburban Paris spreading again to other parts of the country. And bird flu on the move. Tonight, new nations under watch.
Covering the globe, fair and balanced. News at the speed of live. From New York, this is the Fox Report with Shepard Smith.
Manhunt in Texas, as Fox reports tonight. A man who murdered not once but twice. A man just sentenced to death for his crimes walks out of a Houston jail as the guards watch. Police say the convicted killer, Charles Thompson, somehow managed to get a hold of a civilian set of clothes and a fake ID, and was apparently convincing enough to talk his way past at least 4 jail employees to escape. Police say they still don't know exactly how the murderer pulled it off, but that one thing seems clear. A lot of planning went into this, and he most likely, they say, had help. Eric Lilligren on Fox Top Story, live in the newsroom. Eric?
Shep, the manhunt is on with local, state, and federal agencies all after the convicted killer, Charles Thompson. The Harris County Sheriff's Department says he stashed civilian clothing from his last court appearance, where he was resentenced to death after an appeal, and changed into the clothes from his orange jumpsuit inside an attorney meeting booth. Investigators say he later showed a deputy a fake ID card, and the deputy let the convict just walk away.
He told the deputy that he was with the Attorney General's office and that he was conducting an investigation inside our jail.
Thompson is convicted of shooting his ex-girlfriend and her boyfriend to death in 1998. The assistant DA who prosecuted the case says while he was in jail awaiting trial, he tried to hire killers to knock off potential witnesses, including the girl's brother, who testified that his sister's dying words were that Charles was the shooter. The Sheriff's Department says he's obviously very dangerous, and the victim's family was notified immediately.
To let them know that he was no longer in custody so that they could take measures to protect themselves.
Just like a living nightmare. It's like, don't know what to do. I'm not sure, what's going to happen. So I just don't want to be here. I'm trying to figure out how can he escape.
And that's just what the Sheriff's Department is trying to figure out. Detectives suspect there was inside help but have no evidence to support that theory. An internal investigation is underway to see just who's to blame.
It is 100% human error and absolutely could have been avoided.
The department says it will be looking at its security procedures. Meanwhile, a dangerous man is still on the loose. Shepard.
Eric Lilligren reporting live. An 8th night of violence, fires, and anarchy in France. Small groups of young people on the move, hitting more than a dozen Paris suburbs with wave after wave of arson attacks. The protesters, many immigrants, mostly Muslims, torching hundreds of cars and throwing stones and bottles at security forces. Close to 1,000 riot police patrolling the areas, trying to stem the violence. We'll get a complete report from France coming up inside Fox Report. They're calling it the Katrina cough, or Katrina's revenge. And it has some people wondering, is it safe to go back to New Orleans, or the rest of Louisiana and Mississippi for that matter? One downtown New Orleans hospital says complaints of headaches, sore throats, and runny noses are up 25% since the hurricane. The floodwaters obviously left behind a big mess, and one doctor says some people may be literally allergic to the filth. But is the city toxic? Anita Vogel with the news, live from New Orleans. Anita.
Well, Shep, the EPA says the sediments that they have tested are back to pre-hurricane levels. So some people wonder why they're not feeling so good. Folks like John and Joy Lewis say they've been coughing and experiencing respiratory problems ever since they started visiting their home in St. Bernard Parish. They've been living in a trailer in another area because their house was devastated by the floodwaters and a massive oil spill. They're familiar with the EPA test results showing non-toxic levels of chemicals, but they are not convinced. They're part of a local environmental group called the Bucket Brigade, which is skeptical of the EPA's findings.
This problem is a big problem, and I don't believe them. I really don't, and a lot of other people don't believe them either. Not just myself, not because I belong to the Bucket Brigade, but I know a lot of people are they've been having a wool pulled over their eyes because they don't understand what.
A black sludge left behind by the hurricane is covering the streets in some neighborhoods outside the city. The EPA says it has tested for hundreds of chemicals and contaminants like acetone, lead, mercury, and oil. And a spokesperson assured me that the levels meet state and federal standards. So finally, just air, water, sediments, where you've said it's fine, it's fine.
Yes, we're saying that they are back to pre-hurricane levels based on the data that we have right now.
Despite that, parish officials are pushing for more results from the EPA about long-term health effects. Shep, back to you.
Anita, Louisiana is updating the number of people killed by Katrina. It's now 1,070 after 3 more names were added to the list. At least 140 of those victims died at hospitals or nursing homes. One nursing home has been charged with criminally negligent homicide, and a hospital is being investigated for possible mercy killings. Louisiana reportedly doesn't have enough cash to foot its share of the bill for the recovery effort. Federal law requires that state and local governments pay a portion of disaster relief costs. FEMA wants Louisiana to cover about 9%, or $3.7 billion. USA Today in today's edition, citing a spokesman for Governor Blanco, who says meeting that cost would be difficult on a good day, and, well, this isn't a good day. The Superdome might not be ready to reopen until November of next year. That means the hometown, at least for now, Saints may have to continue playing home football games somewhere else through the start of next season. The opening date pushed back after a proposal for architectural design work was tossed out. The Superdome Commission chairman says it's still possible the Saints may play 3 or 4 games there next season. Pentagon has considered cutting some weapons programs to help pay for the war in Iraq. On the chopping block now, cuts to aircraft, shipbuilding, and other weapons purchases, but the proposed cut's not likely to sit well with lawmakers. Those programs pour millions of dollars and thousands of jobs into local economies. In a week when the Pentagon declared the number of IED attacks in Iraq on the rise, while claiming the effectiveness of those attacks is on the decline, another U.S. casualty as a roadside bomb targets a convoy outside Baghdad and kills a soldier, a U.S. soldier. This, as a top British general in Iraq says, a lot of those bombs and the material to make them come from Iran. Brett Baer with the news, live at the Pentagon. Brett?
Shep, the top British commander in charge of the multinational division overseeing southeastern Iraq says he's convinced the most powerful and sophisticated bombs in Iraq are coming from Iran. And he's also saying that coalition forces are having a real trouble trying to stop the flow of powerful bombs into the country. Major General J.B. Dutton says the border between Iraq and Iran stretches more than 900 miles and is very porous.
It's a long and difficult border to police, and one of the problems is it only has one legal border crossing between the Gulf and Baghdad.
U.S. commanders further north say the number and the sophistication of improvised explosive devices has increased countrywide in recent weeks, while terrorists have a large stockpile of explosives to pull from to make IEDs in Iraq. General Dutton said the most lethal devices, the shaped charges using more powerful explosives in one direction, are coming from Iraq's neighbor, Iran.
The IED explosions, particularly the advanced technology ones, we believe the technology certainly is coming from across that border.
Iranian officials call the allegations wild and unfounded. An Iranian diplomat in Iraq this week said instability in Iraq is not in Iran's interests. General Dutton responded today.
I simply don't know whether this is Iranian government policy or whether this is simply groups who are using Iran for their own purposes and not being controlled.
But either way, the general said it is happening. Shep.
Brett Baer live at the Pentagon.
Coming up.
Violent protests at the summit where President Bush is meeting with world leaders, and the president cannot escape one of his big headaches from back home either. Fox News traveling with him. Should girls under 18 have to tell the folks before they get an abortion? Could soon be the law in one state. Will it protect the girls or put them in danger? Tonight we'll report, you decide. And relief from high gas prices may be as close as your refrigerator. Beer. Is there anything it cannot do? From the Fox News Hub in New York and Fox News teams around the globe, this is news at the speed of live. It's still the evening news leader, 46 months in a row.
This program is brought to you by Waste Management. Think green. Think Waste Management.
Who would ever think that the waste we generate could generate enough green energy to power an entire community? Who would think that neighborhood playing fields could share common ground with a working landfill? We would. We're Waste Management, and we're partnering with communities to create places we can all be proud to call home. From everyday collection to environmental protection, think green, think Waste Management.
The financial world is filled with difficult decisions. Who inspires confidence? Where can you turn? Ask your financial advisor about the Hartford Mutual Funds, offered by the Hartford, a company built on 194 years of trust. Request a complete prospectus with investment objectives, risks, fees, expenses, and other information to read and consider carefully before investing or sending money.
At Hyundai, we believe for all the ways we can help you survive an accident, we should provide just as many to help you avoid one. The all-new 2006 Sonata, recipient of the U.S. government's top 5-star crash test rating. It's a Hyundai like you've never seen before. And now at your Hyundai dealer, the Sonata comes with up to $2,000 cash back.
The Verizon Wireless Network.
It's more than phone calls.
It's pictures, music, video, internet.
On the go, anytime. More than 50,000 people make this happen.
People who are highly trained, knowledge hungry,
and never satisfied with good enough.
But the best part of being Verizon Wireless,
I don't just look forward to the future.
I build it. I build it.
I build it. We build it. Our people, our network.
How well does your manual brush clean? Introducing Crest Spin Brush Pro Clean. It cleans up to 70% more plaque in hard-to-reach places, getting what an ordinary manual brush can leave behind. Crest Spin Brush Pro Clean.
Well, the protesters turned violent this afternoon and for hours in Argentina when President Bush was meeting with Latin American leaders there. Angry mobs running wild in the streets near the Summit of the Americas, burning American flags, shattering windows, even setting off fireworks. Cops in riot gear firing back with tear gas and more, but we're told the president was never near any of it. Carl Kammer's around there traveling with the president now. Carl?
Hi, Shep. Most of the demonstrations took place outside the perimeter where the actual summit's going on. A lot of the protesters said they are angry at the president's pro-trade agenda and the war in Iraq. Still, Mr. Bush was self-effacing about the anti-American sentiment during an appearance with his Argentine counterpart.
I want to thank you for being a good host. It's not easy to host all these countries, particularly not easy to host perhaps me.
That got a few giggles. An estimated 10,000 protesters hurled Molotov cocktails, vandalized businesses. They clashed with security forces, and in response, nearly 8,000 riot police used tear gas, fire hoses, and arrested several dozen people. The star Bush basher of the day, Venezuela's leftist president Hugo Chavez, who says the Bush plan for a free trade area of Americas throughout the entire Western Hemisphere will, quote, enslave the poor to big U.S. corporations. Chavez accuses the, quote, imperialist United States of trying to kill or overthrow him in order to seize Venezuela's oil, something the U.S. obviously absolutely disputes. In a 2-hour speech, Mr. Chavez vowed to bury the trade deal, but 29 of the 33 other nations gathered here have signaled their readiness to move forward on the deal. President Bush said he would treat Chavez politely. So far, they've not run into each other. The White House hoped this trip would give the president a chance to rise above some of the problems that have contributed to his lowest approval ratings ever. And still 5,500 miles away from Washington, D.C. today, the president was repeatedly asked about the CIA leaks investigation. Every time he was asked, the president said he wouldn't comment on it because it's an ongoing investigation. The summit wraps up tomorrow. Then President Bush heads back on to Brazil and Panama. He'll be back in Washington on Monday night, where those questions are sure to resume in earnest. Shepard.
Sure they will. Carl Cameron live in Mar del Plata. Now hiring on top of the Friday Biz Brief. The Labor Department reporting U.S. companies created 56,000 new jobs in October. That's only about half of what analysts were expecting. But they say it's still a sign that the job market is on the rebound after the hurricanes. Leaders for the union, which represents Northwest Airlines pilots, endorsing another pay cut. An executive committee voting to recommend that pilots approve a 23% cut in hourly wages. That's on top of a 15% pay cut agreed upon last year. The new cut could save the airline $215 million a year. The big three U.S. automakers adding new rebates to get their cars out on the road. Sales are weaker after a big summer when GM, Ford, and Chrysler all offered employee-style discounts to consumers. SUV sales have also been hurt badly by high gas prices. That government report on jobs helping revive investors' worries about inflation, but held back blue chips. The Dow gaining 8 points to close at 10,531. That's up 128 on the week. The Nasdaq rising 9 to close at 2189. It jumped 80 points over the past 5 trading days. He asked for a new judge, and he got one. Now we know who that new judge is. So will this one stay on the case? We're live in D.C. A new outbreak of bird flu in China. While an entire continent receives warning, it may be the next stop for the deadly disease. And a new way to predict how likely you are to have a heart attack. All you need is a tape measure. Grab that belly, grab that waist. If it takes too long, well, you're in trouble.
You're watching The Fox Report with Shepard Smith, America's newscast, live.
At Hyatt Hotels and Resorts, you'll find Wi-Fi in the guest room and beyond. Here, productivity doesn't require proximity.
It used to be stocks and bonds alone were all you needed. At Merrill Lynch, our financial advisors know it's different today. We'll help all your money, cash, investments, mortgages, retirement, work harder together. That's Total Merrill.
In the spirit of taking great things and making them better, wait till you see what's next. Introducing the all-new 2006 Lincoln Zephyr, Mark LT, and Navigator. Lincoln, reach higher.
Are oil companies thinking ahead?
Everything is set up to run on oil, but it's going to run out. And I really can't fathom that the brains that are running these multi-billion-dollar corporations are not thinking like, where are we going next, guys, you know?
You could have chosen lipo over leg lifts. You could have chosen injections over expressions. You could have followed the latest trend and had an eye lift. But you didn't. You used Regenerist Eye from Olay. It regenerates skin's appearance in all 3 zones for firmer lids, smoother corners, more toned under eyes, visibly lifting and brightening without drastic measures, because you couldn't see it any other way. Regenerist Eye from Olay. Love the skin you're in.
The amazing Little Giant ladder is the strongest, safest, most versatile ladder in the world. But it's more than just one ladder. It's actually 24 ladders in one. With the Little Giant ladder system, you can easily work over and around obstacles, comfortably access your roof and rain gutters, quickly hang Christmas lights, clean your windows in no time, replace light bulbs, easily work around trees and shrubs, and even paint those hard-to-reach areas. Just think of what you could accomplish with your Little Giant. You'll save time and money with the unique Little Giant scaffolding feature, and you can safely work over stairs and uneven surfaces. Ordinary ladders just can't compare to the Little Giant ladder system, and it stores in just 4.5 feet of space, so you can easily maneuver the Little Giant through tight spaces and even transport it in your car. Call right now to find out about our limited time special offer. Don't pass this opportunity up. Call 1-800-LADDERS. That's 1-800-LADDERS. That's 1-800-LADDERS.
Old Beretta was acquitted in criminal court of killing his wife, Bonnie Lee Bakley. Now a civil jury is taking up the same question for the actor, Robert Blake. It's considering a wrongful death lawsuit filed by Bakley, in this case, his children. Deliberations began this afternoon. Blake's lawyers told the jury in closing arguments that there's just not enough evidence linking him to the murder and that the Bakley children weren't that close to her anyway. The children's lawyer says that their mother cared for them deeply. An update now on a school bus that rolled over. We reported this one last night. The bus carried 25 high school football players and 2 coaches from one place to another there. It went off the road and rolled over on a curve about 30 miles north and east of Dallas. About a dozen players were treated. One was in a Dallas hospital with a concussion. He was discharged just a short time ago. Tech check now in the Senate today. Moving one step closer to making the transition to all digital television. Ouch! Lawmakers setting April of 2009 as the date by which broadcasters must switch to all digital transmissions. It also makes it part of a budget bill that would provide $3 billion to help Americans buy digital to analog converters. The converters would allow older television sets to receive a digital signal once the switch is made. The difference between the measure and approved by the House committee must be still worked out. Getting songs off the computer, done and done. So how about doing the same for books? Not whole books, mind you, but books where customers would be charged by the page. Amazon.com and its infinite wisdom talking with publishers and authors about pricing such a thing so you can just read the good parts of, say, the Da Vinci Code. That's the idea anyway. We told you about it in Skinnerville on Studio B. Now we have the pictures to prove it. Here it is, dogcatradio.com, broadcasting live from Adrian Martinez's living room in Los Angeles.
You're listening to dogcatradio.com, the radio station all pets enjoy. Thanks for tuning in and spending part of your day with us here at dogcatradio.com.
Good grief. Sweet dreams are made of this. Guess they know what the audience does all day. The DJs are volunteers from the hood, and it's, well, just not just about the music. They also give pet safety tips. And they've raised money for both human and animal victims of Hurricane Katrina. Well, a river rescue in Washington State and dragons on the loose in Minnesota, as Fox reports across America. Washington, a man in an SUV in a river. Snohomish County rescue workers getting him out of the fast-moving water after about 2 hours. A spokesman for the sheriff says some sort of medical problem caused the man to end up in this predicament. At last word, the guy was said to be doing okay. Oklahoma, grass fires in Creek and Rogers counties running firefighters ragged. The fire's destroying one mobile home and threatening several buildings. One person injured. New York, a collection of John F. Kennedy memorabilia going on the auction block next month. Thousands of items, including notes and doodles from the Cuban Missile Crisis and the president's hotline telephone. The Guernsey Auction House says some of the items may be affordable to the general public. Minnesota, 4 young Komodo dragons arriving at the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport. The big lizards headed to their new home at the Minnesota Zoo. They'll get bigger, too. Adults grow to a length of about 10 feet. Komodos are only found in the wild on 4 Indonesian islands, and that's a Fox Watch. Across America.
Fox Across America is brought to you by Hyatt Hotels and Resorts. Visit Hyatt.com for reservations.
For more than a week, they've been rioting in the suburbs of Paris, burning cars, hurling stones, firing shots. Now the riots are spreading. North Korea telling women in that country, stop wearing those clothes. It's apparently all America's fault. And beer. Not just for drinking anymore, as one company finds a way to use the leftovers to power... Well, I'll save that.
Each engineering innovation we make helps you overcome another challenge on the road. The GMC Envoy and Envoy XL with StabiliTrak, standard. We can't be certain how you'll use our SUVs, so we engineer them all to the highest standard. Professional grade.
When you're a star like me, things are taken care of. You see? A second bag. Second. Even my independent insurance agent spoils me.
Ryan, after comparing a number of companies, I recommend Drive Insurance from Progressive. You'll get a policy customized just for you.
How does the other half live?
Actually, I do it for everyone.
To find an agent who'll take care of you, go to driveinsurance.com.
We could live in the city and see a show every day. We could live at the beach and build our very own castle.
Discover the possibilities of today's Ethan Allen.
Or maybe a neighborhood where I listen to the birds sing.
Introducing the new Casuals. Fresh, modern, irresistibly priced. It's Ethan Allen redefined.
Or we could live in the country and grow our family tree.
In stores now.
Wherever hope is the only thing left. Wherever lives can be turned right side up. Wherever natural disasters call for acts of God. That is where your donations to the Salvation Army go. Help those who have been affected by Hurricane Katrina. Donate today at 1-800-SAL-ARMY or salvationarmyusa.org.
How does the Merck Patient Assistance Program help people?
Because of the program, I get the medication I need.
The program? My doctor told me about it.
You may be eligible for the Merck Patient Assistance Program if you don't have health insurance or a drug plan and are also unable to afford the Merck medicines your doctor prescribes. Your doctor can make the request.
Because of the program, I get my medications free.
For nearly 50 years, the Merck Patient Assistance Program has helped millions of people get the Merck medicines they need at absolutely no charge. If you're eligible, the Merck medicines you need can be delivered to your doctor or right to your home.
The program sends the medications straight to my house.
At Merck, we believe our medicines should be available to the people who need them. For more information, call 1-800-727-5400 or click on Merck.com. The Merck Patient Assistance Program. Merck, where patients come first.
Beer and driving, bad. But it doesn't have to be. Matter of fact, beer and driving may mix so well that the combination could spell relief at the pumps. From the brewery to the gas tank, in a Fox report from Alicia Acuna.
Together, beer and a tank of gas will usually get you on a road to nowhere. But chemical engineers who partnered with Coors Brewing Company have found a way to make this a fuel-efficient combination.
We really never thought we were going to have something of ours go directly into your gas tank.
Coors and its partner Merrick aren't pouring beers straight into tanks. Rather, they're turning some of the waste that is created during the beer-making process into 200-proof high-octane alcohol, ethanol.
Ethanol actually reduces the amount of carbon monoxide that is produced in the combustion engine.
Some states mandate ethanol be blended with gasoline to reduce emissions. In the U.S., about 4 million cars on the road run on the purer form called E85.
For every gallon of ethanol that we put into the gasoline pool, we back out a gallon of crude oil that comes from who knows where.
The ethanol from beer market is very small. Most comes from corn. There are opponents to ethanol production, but their focus is more on the traditional way of extracting it. Critics point to studies that show corn is not cost-effective, that it actually costs more to produce the ethanol and get it on the road to service stations than the savings the fuel substitute provides. When it comes to beer, most agree. Waste not, want not.
This is just what naturally occurs in the process of making beer.
It also makes fiscal sense for Coors. This is the largest single-site brewery in the world, with a byproduct that would otherwise go to waste. It's now hitting the road.
Here at Coors, we want your car to drink our product and drive, just not you.
In Golden, Colorado, Alicia Acuna, Fox News.
From America's leading news network, you're on the Fox Report. It's the bottom of the hour. Time for the top of the news. Manhunt in Texas for a convicted twice murderer who waltzed out of a Houston jail after he was sentenced to death. Police say this guy, Charles Thompson, changed into regular clothes, got a fake ID, and got the heck out. Lots of people who've gone back to New Orleans are getting sick. They're calling it the Katrina cough. But the EPA insists the air and the soil and the water are as safe as they were before the hurricane. And riots in Argentina, where the president is meeting with Latin American leaders. Protesters setting fires, smashing windows, and launching fireworks just to make him feel at home. It all happened outside the summit security zone where the president was never in danger. A new threat, as Fox reports tonight, in the riot-torn suburbs of Paris, where for the second week protesters are lighting up cars and attacking police. Authorities say there are far fewer large groups of rioters acting out. Instead, they say roving bands of youth are doing much the same damage. Greg Palcott with details from France.
Shep, the word that we are getting from our contacts on the ground, it is underway again, the 9th straight night of troubles in the Paris region. We are told several warehouses going up in flames, as well as a number of cars being torched. Remember, 400 of them were burned last night. Just about 200 yards from our live position late this afternoon, a courthouse here in Bobigny up in flames as well. Again, arson seems to be the weapon of choice of the troublemakers. There were less clashes last night between rioters and police, perhaps because of the number of riot police who have been deployed to the region, over 1,000. We are here at the regional police headquarters. We've been seeing a lot of coming and going tonight. Perhaps that same strategy is holding. The pressure is on. Now, as the arrests grow, the debate grows as well about how France is handling this. The best way to describe this, perhaps, this is France's social Katrina. They should have seen it coming from a long time ago. They were still surprised when it happened. They were slow to react. 5 million Muslims here, immigrant Africans. They were told that they would be integrated into this country. Obviously, have not been high unemployment, high crime in the housing projects where the trouble is coming from, and that leads to even more problems. Finally, Shep, the French Prime Minister Dominique de Villepin late yesterday said that he would be issuing a plan to deal with the troubled suburbs around Paris late this month. You better hurry up. Shep.
Greg Palcott reporting from France. China's detected it and Africa's bracing for it as the bird flu continues to spread, as Fox reports tonight. China reports a new outbreak of the avian flu in a village east of Beijing. Workers killing more than 370,000 birds just as a precaution. It's the 4th outbreak there in the past 3 weeks. And an agriculture official in Africa warning migratory birds from Europe and Asia may carry the deadly strain of the virus. Those birds expected to arrive in just a couple of weeks. The gay marriage ban in Oregon, it was overwhelmingly approved by the voters last year. Now it has the approval of a judge, too. The constitutional amendment, which defines marriage as a union between a man and a woman, was challenged by gay rights supporters. They claimed it made too many changes to the law and should have been voted on in separate amendments. But a county judge, circuit judge that is, upholding the ban, ruling that it only clarifies existing law. A new judge for Congressman Tom DeLay, the Chief Justice of the Texas State Supreme Court, choosing a semi-retired judge from San Antonio to preside over DeLay's money laundering trial. That after 2 previous judges stepped aside from the case because of their own political contributions. But in a state where judges run in partisan elections, new questions tonight over whether the latest judge will stay too. Greg Kelly, live in Washington. Greg?
Shepard, indicted Republican Congressman Tom DeLay is eager for his day in court, and the Democratic prosecutor Ronnie Earl wants to prosecute this case, but getting this case to trial has turned Texas judicial circles inside out. The challenge, finding a judge with no ties to DeLay or partisan causes, Democratic or Republican. In Texas, that's hard. The state is, as you mentioned, one of a handful only in the country where all judges are elected in partisan contests. The first judge removed because of perceived bias. He contributed money to the liberal MoveOn.org. Another judge then recused himself when it was learned that he gave $2,000 to the campaign of George W. Bush. That's B.B. Schraub. The matter then went to the Texas Supreme Court Chief Justice Wallace Jefferson, but Justice Jefferson received money from a branch of the Republican National Committee at the very heart of the criminal case against DeLay. Jefferson appointed a retired San Antonio judge, Pat Priest, to the case. Now, Judge Priest has given money to Democratic state candidates, but for now, his appointment stands. An attorney for Tom DeLay says they are ready to move forward.
It's Judge Priest, and yes, he has a reputation of being a fine, fair judge. We're glad to have him, and we're ready to go.
But the rotating cast of judges and the intersection of the judiciary and politics is of growing concern for Texans. Charles Silver is a professor of law at the University of Texas.
If what Mr. DeLay has pointed to is a significant problem, we ought to recognize that it's the same problem for everyone, not just for him.
Next move, Shep, the defense is going to try to work to get this case in front of a jury, in front of jurors who have a chance at being Republicans. Right now, Travis County, where this case is based, heavily Democratic county, they think they'll have a better shot somewhere else. Back to you.
Greg, Howard Dean did not violate any laws by sealing documents from his days as Vermont's governor. That's the ruling by the state's highest court today. When he left office in 2003, Dean placed under a 10-year seal 93 boxes of papers he claimed were sensitive. The move drew criticism when he ran for president, from the other side, of course, but the state Supreme Court citing an archives law which allows certain documents to be kept from the public. A FoxRx prescription for your heart. A new study suggests increasing your hip size could reduce your risk of having a heart attack. Kid you not. The researchers out of Canada's McMaster University. It looked at the hip-to-waist ratio of more than 27,000 people. It found that folks with a trim waist and well-toned hips were less likely to suffer heart attacks. The study concluding that those stats are a better predictor than the current standard, that weird body mass index that nobody understands. Warm weather across much of the eastern third of the United States. Man, it was balmy in New York today. There's this high-pressure system swirling around out there, delivering sunny skies and above normal temperatures. But over some parts of western and northern U.S., well, cold air and flurries. Funny how that happens. In western New York State, it's high winds, gusts more than 50 miles an hour, downing some trees and power lines, putting people with yellow shirts in the road. In the Cascade Mountains in Washington State, would you look at that? The season's first major snowstorm. When it's all over, some mountain spots could see up to 15, even 34 inches of snow. Buzz Lopez buzzing the details out of the Weather Center.
Thanks, Shep. Good evening. And, well, not such a good evening across the Pacific Northwest. We've seen quite a bit of wind, rain, and higher elevation snows. In fact, snowfall that moved through the Dakotas is now over the northern Great Lakes and Ontario in Canada. But now there's another wave of energy and another system coming through. You can see the scattered snowfall through the higher elevations of the Rockies. And it looks like for the Cascades, we're talking about a pretty significant snow event, 8 to 12 inches in spots. So it's going to be rather treacherous out there if you're traveling, so please bear that in mind. Elsewhere across the country, it's fairly quiet. In fact, we're looking at a big dome of warm air extending from Texas through the Tennessee Valley and out towards the Mid-Atlantic, making for a beautiful day today. But how about on Saturday as we head towards the weekend? Well, looks like it's still going to be pretty nice across much of the U.S. In fact, we're talking about some fairly good conditions across the Mid-Atlantic and the Southeast. Temperatures going to be warming up back to the 70s, even the 80s along the coast, 84 in Tampa. A few thunderstorms are possible across the Middle Mississippi and the Ohio valleys, and cool conditions across the north, showers moving into the northeast late in the day. Shep?
Buzz Lopez in the Weather Center.
Coming up.
10 years after the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin, remembering the man, and a new call to investigate what went wrong. Abortion and parental notification. A renewed debate over how much information underage girls should give their parents before terminating a pregnancy. And you may have heard reports that George Clooney got into a shoving match in London, right? Tonight, the Herculean effort by the PR flacks to tell something, it really just anything at all, something about that, but not much really.
At UBS, we offer our clients serious financial resources. Over 100 years of experience, the expertise of the world's largest wealth management firm, and of course, the most serious resource of all, a relationship with an advisor who actually understands you. Wealth management at UBS, from wealth preservation to lending and investment. You and us. UBS.
The Verizon Wireless Network.
It's more than phone calls.
It's pictures, music, video, internet.
On the go, anytime. More than 50,000 people make this happen.
People who are highly trained,
knowledge hungry,
and never satisfied with good enough.
But the best part of being Verizon Wireless,
I don't just look forward to the future.
I build it. I build it.
I build it.
We build it. Our people, our network.
I've been in this room before.
What?
I've been here before.
Yeah. You took the virtual tour at Hotels.com?
Right.
Want to check out your hotel before you check in? Send in the experts at Hotels.com. They check out thousands of hotels and bring you tools like virtual tours so you can look before you book. Log on or call now to find great deals everywhere. Hotels.com. We know hotels inside and out.
What is global warming?
Global warming is real. It's very real.
The ice caps are melting. The glaciers are disappearing.
We're destroying the capability of the planet to heal itself.
So why not give something else a chance? Why not try something radical and extreme and different?
You've waited, you've dreamed, and now it's finally back. Endless Shrimp at Red Lobster. The only time of year to enjoy all the shrimp you can eat. Don't miss Endless Shrimp right now, only at Red Lobster.
Prince Charles and Camilla beginning their day in Washington. They paid tribute to America's war dead by placing a wreath at the National World War II Memorial. The royal couple then flew to New Orleans for a look at the damage caused by Katrina. Charles and Camilla visited a Catholic school in the quarter and then went through the 9th Ward, which suffered so badly. The royal tour stops next in San Francisco. Remembering the man who paid with his life for negotiating Israel's first deal with the Palestinians. Family and friends gathering today at the gravesite of the Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. An ultranationalist he was. He was a Jew who fired the 3 shots that killed Rabin 10 years ago today. The man opposed Rabin's moves to exchange land for peace. Rabin's top bodyguard now calling for a new investigation into that assassination. Questions do remain about whether the shooter acted alone. Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf postponing his country's purchase of close to 80 U.S. F-16 fighter jets. He says Pakistan needs the money to help with the recovery from last month's devastating earthquake. Musharraf also criticizing the international response to the quake. He's urging the world to be as generous with aid to earthquake victims as the world was with Asia's tsunami and with Hurricane Katrina. The earthquake killed an estimated 80,000 people. North Korean officials reportedly telling women to stop wearing pants. The move, according to a South Korean news agency, is to counter what Pyongyang is calling U.S. efforts to spread the rotten bourgeois lifestyle. Well, foreign clothing, the North says, dampens the revolutionary spirit. Instead, North Korea wants women to wear this, the traditional dress. The last Concorde gets a permanent roost in France, and Shepard's no relation in short supply in Hungary, as we go around the world in 80 seconds. France The last of the Concorde airliners lifted into its final resting place at the airport in Paris. The exhibit shows Concorde number 5 in a pose, giving the impression that it's just left the runway. Thailand. The Bangkok government's now requiring passports for fighting cocks. The popular rural pastime has been banned since bird flu was found in one of the birds last summer. Now, in a step toward eventually resuming the fights, all the birds are getting passports. The document tracks where the bird's been and its medical history. Mexico. A monarch butterfly lover hoping to attract attention to his favorite insect. He flew his ultralight plane with monarch wings the entire 3,000-mile length of a butterfly's migration route. Monarchs breed in the United States and Canada and spend the winter in southern U.S. and Mexico. Hungary. Sheep ranchers say the market for their animals is growing, but that it's getting harder to find good shepherds. The work is hard and sometimes goes on around the clock. Some ranch owners say they're finding a solution in Romania, where the shepherd workforce is larger and eager for work. And that's a wrap on this Fox trip round the world in 80 seconds. Should girls under the age of 18 have to tell their parents before they get an abortion? Voters in California will get to decide next week, but the girls who'd be affected by the law will not get a say since they can't vote. Under Prop 73, minors could still get an abortion against their parents' wishes if a judge says it's okay. But opponents call that option stupid.
I can't imagine how a 15-year-old, a scared pregnant 15-year-old, could actually figure out not only where to go, where juvenile court is, but then how do they get a lawyer? How do they maneuver the system?
You're telling me that for something as dangerous, that can possibly be as dangerous as an abortion, that the parents should not know? That's absurd.
So what do you think? Minutes from now, Trace Gallagher will report, so you can decide.
You're watching the Fox Report with Shepard Smith, and we are Fox News Channel. This program is brought to you by Honda, a company committed to providing safety for everyone.
Ingeniously designed to help protect the things that need protecting. Energy-absorbing ACE body structure, standard on the all-new Civic. Only from Honda.
Sometimes just getting to retirement seems impossible. That's where we come in. As the nation's 401k leader, the principal offers many simple ways to plan for retirement, making it easier for you to get where you're going. The Principal Financial Group will give you an edge.
Homeowners need cash? You need to know about the no closing cost home equity line of credit from Countrywide Home Loans. Unlike many lenders, with Countrywide there's no application fee, no credit reporting fee, no appraisal fee, no underwriting fee, no closing costs. So you can use more of your loan to pay off credit cards and lower your bills. The no closing cost home equity line of credit from Countrywide. No one can do what Countrywide can. Apply now. Call 1-800-641-8260.
Some new developments to tell you about in the investigation.
Real news in the morning.
Raging wildfire continues to race across the hills.
American morning.
Essentially the power of a tsunami blowing these homes off their foundations.
Evacuees are still scattered across the country.
What happened overnight? And what's happening in the day ahead?
There have been claims of price gouging.
American morning. Real news makes the difference. Soledad O'Brien and Miles O'Brien. American morning. CNN weekdays 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern.
Meet the new convertible notebook from Gateway, featuring Intel Centrino mobile technology, the industry's first 14-inch widescreen notebook with a surprise that lets you combine the power of a notebook with the inspiration of a tablet. Start something noteworthy with Microsoft Windows XP Tablet PC Edition 2005. Work wirelessly from almost anywhere with Intel Centrino mobile technology. Capture images just by drawing a circle, then paste them into documents or emails. Keep your class on the edge of their seats, even sign and close deals right on screen from wherever you are. Then enjoy a little downtime. It's guaranteed to get your work noticed. Visit gateway.com/convertible, a nearby retailer, or call 1-800-GATEWAY. Get the edge.
The question is, should girls under the age of 18 have to tell their parents before they get an abortion? And that's the question before California voters. They'll be answering it this coming week. Would the new law protect girls, or would it put them in danger, or some combination? Here's Trace Gallagher.
So I'm voting no on Prop 73.
Proposition 73 requires that clinics give parents 48 hours notice before performing an abortion on girls under 18. The measure does not require parental consent. And young girls facing a medical emergency or who get a judge's waiver would be exempt.
Parents are not the enemy.
Supporters like Maria Kennedy do believe that by getting parents involved, abortions would be fewer and safer. But they don't believe this issue is necessarily about abortion.
It really is about parental rights. I mean, it would be a far stretch to go from parental notification to ruling against the constitutional right on abortion.
But opponents have made that connection, calling this a step towards abolishing Roe versus Wade. They argue the law would put girls at risk, saying some girls won't confide in their parents because of fear or abuse, and that would lead them to seek out shoddy medical facilities and dangerous abortions. And the so-called bypass option of going to a judge, they call ludicrous.
I can't imagine how a 15-year-old, a scared pregnant 15-year-old, could actually figure out not only where to go, where juvenile court is, but then how do they get a lawyer? How do they maneuver the system?
Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, whose popularity continues to wane, supports 5 measures on the ballot. But Prop 73 is the only one of those that stands a decent chance of passing. If Prop 73 passes, California would become the 35th state with a parental notification law. For now, polls show voters are fairly split on the measure. But it's interesting to note that voters who favor abortion rights also have a favorable view of the proposition. In Los Angeles, Trace Gallagher, Fox News.
No hitting! That's bad. Bad Jake Gyllenhaal hitting another person like that. And if you love, hate, or simply have no feelings whatsoever for Christina Aguilera, we have the most important 10 seconds or so of news you must hear inside your G-Block. The G-Block. Overdoing it for a Friday.
More exclusive interviews, more in-depth investigation, more stories that impact you, and more people tuning in than CNN, MSNBC, and Headline News combined. Fox News Channel Prime Time, the #1 prime time in all of cable news. Tonight, the billionaire fugitive, tracking down the man with ties to Clinton, Libby, and Saddam Hussein. And you won't believe what happens on the Factor. Then, Holloway outrage, who they want off the investigation, and why Natalie's dad speaks out on the record.
Disciplined investing. It's not about following the crowd. At T. Rowe Price, our independent research means we're not deceived by every market ripple, and we don't chase every fad. For each 1, 5, and 10-year period, over 65% of our funds beat their Lipper average. Low-cost mutual funds from T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence. Request a complete prospectus or profile with investment objectives, risks, fees, expenses, and other information to read and consider carefully before investing.
Lots of Wi-Fi users work in coffee shops, which aren't always the best places to work. Wouldn't it be great to work wherever you wanted instead of only in hotspots? Now you can with Verizon Wireless Broadband Access. Wi-Fi only works in limited locations, while Broadband Access is the nation's largest high-speed wireless broadband network and is expanding coast to coast. Now get unlimited access at a great price, so you won't get stuck in a not-so-hot spot. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
All of us have internal plumbing. But for some of us, with frequent bladder urges, our pipes just don't work as well as they should. Sometimes you worry you could spring an embarrassing leak. So why deal with it on your own when there's something more you can do. Treat it once daily with Vesicare. Vesicare can reduce urges and may even help relieve bladder leakage. If you have certain types of stomach, urinary, or glaucoma problems, do not take Vesicare. While taking Vesicare, if you experience a serious allergic reaction, severe abdominal pain, or become constipated for 3 or more days, tell your doctor right away. Common side effects are dry mouth, constipation, blurred vision, and indigestion. So ask your doctor today if Vesicare is right for you. Fewer urges and leaks with Vesicare. Save $25 by calling now or visiting Vesicare.com for your free kit.
New from Usher, only at Best Buy. Get the Usher Truth Tour limited edition DVD box set, available November 8th, exclusively at Best Buy.
The G Block is brought to you by Best Buy. Thousands of possibilities. Get yours.
More help to coming on Top and G. Michael Jackson reportedly close to finishing up his song for hurricane relief. His flack says the singer needs only 2 or 3 more artists to do their tracks before he lays down his vocals. We don't know everyone involved, but R. Kelly and Snoop Dogg have been confirmed. Proceeds will go to charities, including the Bill Clinton, George Bush, Katrina Fund. George Clooney's denying a newspaper report that he got into a shoving match with a security guard outside a club in London. Clooney's publicist says the actor didn't get into a fight with a guard or anyone else. No! Instead, the incident had, quote, everything to do with someone being unkind to a woman, unquote. In a statement, Clooney said, quoting again, I won't stand by when someone is being insulted and maligned. Beyond that, we have no idea what happened. Jarhead's Jake Gyllenhaal admits he lost his temper after a fellow actor chipped his tooth on the film's set. He says, I just got so angry that I had my chip toothed and my tooth chipped and got all messed up and weird and didn't do anything for a while. Acting is hard. Jarhead is about Marines cooling their heels during Gulf War I. It opens today. Hey, have you heard? Shar Jackson tells Sister to Sister magazine that she and Kevin Federline were still together when he started dating Britney Spears last year. Yep. Jackson says she was pregnant with their second child when she found out. But you know what? She doesn't want child support. No. She says all she wants is for Kevin to spend time with his kids. Make that their kids, not just the one he had with Spears. Of course we have your size, the G-Block Quick Hits. TV Guide Online reports the desperate housewife Ava Longoria will host November 19th, Saturday Night Live. We know we should have led the show with this story, but whatever. News. Charlie Sheen says his marriage to Denise Richards is on the mend. She had filed for divorce from the actor. He appeared on a late-night show wearing his wedding ring. And here's the real important one. Christina Aguilera wants her fans to leave her a voicemail explaining the impact that her music has had on their lives. The winning submission will end up on her next album. G wants to send her one thanking her for the genie in a bottle and telling her how it helped it understand math. And on this day, in the year 1979, Iranian students, that is, followed the Ayatollah Khomeini story in the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. The radical Muslims took 90 hostages. About 36 of them were released several weeks later. The students were enraged over the U.S. decision to allow the deposed Shah to enter the states for medical treatment, or so they said. Days later, Iran's provincial leader resigned and the revolutionaries took control. Start of a crisis 26 years ago today. Well, if you're just tuning in for The Factor, here's some of the news you missed as Fox reports tonight. A death row inmate in Texas just walked right out of a jail in Houston after putting on civilian clothes and flashing a fake ID. President Bush in Argentina for that Summit of the Americas, the top priority free trade, but today the protesters were out in force, clashing with police on the summit's opening day. And speaking of clashes, riots in France now in their second week. Gangs of mainly immigrant young people roaming the Paris suburbs, setting fires and mixing it up with police. The unrest now said to be spreading to other parts of the nation. And now you know the news. Friday, November the 4th, 2005. I'm Shepard Smith. Good of you to have us in tonight. Be sure to watch the Fox Report Weekend tomorrow and Sunday, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Rick Bolbaum's in. I'll be back Monday for Studio B, noon Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern time. Stay tuned now. It's the O'Reilly Factor, followed by Hannity and Combs, and then On the Record with Greta Van Susteren. You've got to go to Greta. Right now, it's prime time.
The Fox Report with Shepard Smith, a presentation of Fox News Channel, the network America trusts, period.